Hi everyone, Sarah Pacaro, hypnotherapist and rapid transformational therapist. I use the method of healing that I went through to get out of an extremely emotionally, spiritually, financially abusive, unhealthy, toxic relationship now to help other people. And I wanted to share with you today just some insight on that. I didn't realize that I was codependent. I actually hadn't even ever heard of that term. I just thought I was really anxious. I was really stressed. I got into the second narcissistic relationship just weeks after the first most impactful one ending. And the thing is, when you're in an unhealthy, toxic relationship, what you don't realize when you're in it, right? Like this hindsight 2020, you can't see the forest beneath the trees or through the trees, whatever that phrase is. You don't realize the dynamics of what that relationship is doing for you and actually the way that it's helping you. It is extremely helpful in a backwards twisted way. It is extremely helpful in helping you avoid something that's actually much, much deeper. And that relationship is very surface level, and so it's helping you avoid those things that are actually there that are much, much deeper. When you're in that painful relationship and that cycle, that trauma bond, what happens is that you fail to acknowledge that addictive cycle. Maybe you can see it. I started to see the ex-partner's cycle, but what I was failing to see was my own cycle and how I was keeping myself stuck in my own loop and that own cycle. And when you're out, that's actually what emerges is that thing that you have been avoiding or that wasn't able to surface because of that toxic and unhealthy relationship. So once you're out, you see your own cycle. Like, it is so easy. I know, like that, the cycle that my ex is in. I still know, even though we have very limited communication, just based on the communication itself. And it's kind of like a man period. Like, it's like it happens quarterly. I know it's going to happen at least 4, if not 4 to 6 times a year. Is this cycle? And I used to joke that I could draw this circle and like just move the dot with where he was at. What I failed to see and being in that relationship was my own cycle. And that is the dynamic and power. When you're out of it, it actually goes much deeper than that relationship itself. And it's all to do with you and where you're at in your own addictive cycle and how that toxic relationship was keeping you from avoiding feeling those really, really deep feelings, keeping you safe. The job of your mind and your brain is to keep you safe and have you feel pleasure and avoid feeling pain. So even though that toxic, unhealthy relationship caused a lot of pain, what it was doing was keeping you from avoiding your own pain, if that makes sense. So you do get out, and then you realize, I never, ever, ever want to experience that ever again. And then the first thing I hear often is, well, I'm just never going to date again. I guess I'll just be alone for the rest of my life. Well, that's not necessarily the answer, because we are hardwired, again, in our brains to find connection and avoid rejection. And we don't want to be alone forever. We're not designed to be alone forever. But you've got to go deeper within yourself and take a look at what that relationship was doing for you and the ways that it was protecting you from avoiding what is deeper within inside of you and that cycle within yourself. Yes, everyone has their own cycle. Yes, the ex is toxic. They've got their own cycle, and you probably know it like the back of your hand. What about your cycle? What about what's going on deeper within you? What you'll see is that it's linked to different traits, certain behaviors. One of those is codependency. And codependency, underneath, behind that curtain and veil, are lots of feelings that you have been avoiding because they're negative, hurtful, painful feelings like shame, loneliness, poor boundaries, lack of certain life skills. We all grow up learning certain things, and you don't know what you don't know. So if you didn't have parents who were emotionally tuned in and connected with you, they weren't able to teach you certain things, certain life skills that you need to have a healthy, thriving adult life. And relationships included in that. Maybe it's a job included in that. Maybe it's the way that you raise your children. I can tell you how many times growing up I looked at my mom and I'm like, I can't wait to have kids. I'm never going to do that to them. And then I have my own child now and I'm like, damn it. I'm doing that to her because they're learned behaviors that get installed and programmed And you can't just magically unprogram, you've got to really do some work there. So when you're codependent and you find yourself in unhealthy relationships and you find that that's just the norm, maybe you go out of one and then you jump back online, or you don't start dating again, and then you find, oh, this person actually like the same as the last person. What's going on? And you don't naturally watch over or take over caring for yourself, because it's very unnatural. Maybe what's natural for you is being a codependent, always wanting to take care of others, put other people above yourself, and then you tend to worry about more what other people think about you than what you think about you. You should only care what you think about you. And if you're having negative thoughts about yourself, or catching yourself saying negative things like, God, I'm so stupid, why do I always do that, man, I'm never going to be able to do this. And if you start having those negative thoughts, you need to start caring more about those thoughts that you have about yourself than what other people think about you. Because the past is, what you have done is you brought that past and you've made it become your now, your present moment. You are carrying through all that baggage and luggage of life, and you've made it your now, which it's not. And you get stuck. I hear that word a lot. I'm just stuck. You have no clue how to change what needs to be changed. And sadly, what you want is a healthy relationship. You're never going to find that when you're bringing all that baggage and luggage into you. So healthy relationships may come, but then they slip away because you're bored by them, because they don't have the highs and lows of all the drama like unhealthy relationships do. And so those unhealthy dynamics and relationships are what continue to flourish and stay present. So codependents generally stay in toxic relationships even when they know that they're toxic. Codependents will complain, they will cry, they will withdraw, they will isolate themselves, and they find themselves living in this just intolerable anger. Like they're just so angry all the time, they're just so frustrated with everything, because of these patterns from the past, because of these past learned behaviors, where those deep rooted fears of abandonment, rejection, poor, unhealthy boundaries, and lack of self makes it seem impossible to confront all the things that you know that you need to deal with this properly. So if you're a codependent, what you need is a connection to yourself. So how do you get that? Well, you've got to uninstall those programs that are working. Like my phone will start to not work as well because I've got too much crap on there, right? Too many things installed that I don't even use. And so every now and then my phone will come up and say, hey, you haven't used these for a while. You want to uninstall them, or do you want to delete them? And I'm like, wow, thank you, phone. Actually, I do. Yeah, I don't need that anymore. How do you do that with your mind, right? Because you're bringing in this stuff from the past into your present, keeping you codependent, and it's impacting your ability to connect with yourself, and it's impacting your faith and your hope that you can see yourself as valuable, capable, worthy, all those things that you need to have a healthy, thriving relationship. It's got to start within yourself, because you can only ever love another person to the degree that you love yourself. So you need to be able to set healthy boundaries with others. Well, how do you do that? You have to first start by setting healthy boundaries for yourself. And setting healthy boundaries with other people, especially people who are used to walking all over you, is going to piss them off. It's going to tick them off. They're going to say you're selfish and I don't know what happened to you, but you've changed, you're different. And they're going to make it seem like you are suddenly this crazy person. That's okay. Like, cut out toxic behaviors, but it starts with cutting out your own toxic behaviors. Those are your thoughts, what you think you become, and what you say is what tends to be realized. So if you say things like, God, I'm worthless, I'm never going to blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? You're right. You're never going to. And if you say, I am amazing, I am worthy, I am capable, those are the thoughts that are going to change your life. And you can't just say them as affirmations or mantras, because your mind is going to go, yeah, but, and it's going to kick it out. It's going to refute it. You have to truly, truly believe it in order for it to be able to sink in. That's the big difference. So one of the telltale signs of codependency is that fear that someone you once fawned after, right? That toxic and unhealthy person might never leave. Like, even if you have left the toxic relationship, or you were left, you live in that fear of like, well, what if they come back? What am I going to do? Well, you're not going to be the same person if you do the work to break that codependency and establish healthy boundaries and know your value, know your worth. If or when that person comes back, you're going to laugh. You're not even going to let them in. And if they do somehow get in, right, they change their number and call you, email you, it's not going to have the same impact and effect on you as it does if you don't do the work, because it's all up to you. And that's a big fear of a codependent. Well, what am I going to do? What am I going to do if this person comes back? Well, if you take that time in that space that you now have, that you're not in that unhealthy relationship anymore, to really go deep within yourself and work on yourself, it's not going to be a problem when and if they do come back. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes the discard is forever. Sometimes it's just while they have new supply and then they come back when that ends. But if you take that time to go deep within yourself, heal those unhealed wounds, meet those unmet needs that are within you, you are not going to be that same person that they once knew. And you're not going to even blink an eye or think twice about letting them back. You're actually going to look back on that time and go, wow, I don't know what the hell I was thinking, but I do know I have learned so much from that experience. As you begin to awaken from this spell of codependence, you are able to see more clearly. I shared an analogy yesterday with a client. It's kind of like, right, we all have to wear these stupid masks now, and if you have glasses and you're right, your glasses, the lens fog up, you can't see clearly. So it is like when all that haze, or when you take a hot shower and you get out and the mirror is all foggy, and then you open the door and it slowly starts to dissipate and fade away, and then you can see more clearly. You are able to see more clearly when you do that deep inner work how you have not been loving yourself, and how not loving yourself or seeing your worth or seeing your capabilities or your, like, all of that, all of those beautiful, wonderful things that are you, how not seeing that has allowed those toxic people into your life and has allowed others to exploit your deepest inner fears and insecurities, and how it's been connected to not having healthy boundaries. So slowly, as that haze, that fog starts to dissipate and fade away, and you begin to see more clearly, you are willing, and you actually quite like looking within, and you like setting this bar for yourself, and you learn to like and love having accountability and taking accountability and responsibility for how you feel, knowing it's no one else's job to make you happy. No one's responsible for your thoughts, your beliefs, your behaviors, your mindsets, your actions or inactions. Not doing anything is still doing something. No one can make you happy but you. And when you start to do that deep inner work, you begin to recognize these unhealthy partnerships. And they're not just with a partner. They can be with people at work. They can be with friends. They can be with family members. Whoever it is, you start to see how those make you miserable, and you simply just don't tolerate it anymore. So healing from the root cause of codependency is what breaks that spell, allows that fog to be lifted. So I hope that this has been insightful for you, helpful for you in understanding where you go next. Where you got to go next is deep. You got to go inside. And that's why I love, love, love hypnotherapy, rapid transformational therapy, because it bypasses that conscious mind, that thinking mind of, oh, I think I know what it is. You will be quite amazed and surprised by what it actually is. And then spending time there, and you really like to spend time there after you see all the ways that your outer world is changing because your inner world is improving. So I would love to connect with you if you want to learn or talk more about hypnotherapy, rapid transformational therapy, any of that stuff. But it's definitely the most effective gateway to doing the deep inner work. Conscious work is phenomenal. Reading books, listening to podcasts, writing affirmations are all great conscious work. But if your inner mind is going, get out of here. Yeah, no, I'm worthy, I'm capable, but I'm really not, because, right? Then that's where you need to go to do the work, to really let those affirmations, mantras, and all that positive self-talk that you're saying on the outside sink in and really make a big difference. So thank you guys, as always, for tuning in, watching this. Have a beautiful day, and I look forward to connecting with you.